If you want to minimize the risk of falls throughout your life, you need to have strong legs. And in today's video, I'm going to show you exactly what to do to get there. If you don't know who I am, my name is Harlow and I'm the Over-Fifties specialist physio here at HT Physio in Farnham. And today I'm going to be showing you 4 of my favorite exercises to strengthen the legs and prevent falls. Now, many of the people who come to see me in my clinic are worried about falling, and falls can happen for a number of different reasons, but the most common reason for falls is a lack of strength in the legs. If you don't have strong legs, they can give way, which can cause a fall, and you also won't be able to adjust yourself quick enough to catch your body if you do start to fall if you've got weak legs. So I'm going to show you a few exercises that can reverse that weakening process, which gets worse with age. Each of these exercises should build strength in key areas of the legs and combat the effects of sarcopenia, which is muscle loss as we get older. If we can combat those effects, falls are going to be much less likely. So before I show you the exercises, it's important to note that these are not going to be suitable for everyone. Please do get checked out by your doctor before you give them a try, and definitely don't do them if they cause you any pain. Let's have a look at the exercises now. The first strengthening exercise to help you prevent falls is the sit to stand. And this is one of my favorite exercises for people over 50, not just because it's a great strengthening exercise, but because it's a movement we use every single day. So the sit to stand is simple. All you need is a chair. A dining room chair works best because you want one that's got a stable surface, not a sofa, by the way. So you come right to the edge of your chair. You're going to have your feet flat on the floor. You want your hips to 90 degrees and your knees to 90 degrees. You're going to take your hands out the way. That's very important. We're not allowed to use hands. And then we're going to use some momentum to come forward and then push up. And then when we get to the top of the movement, we're going to start to put it in reverse. So you start to stick your bottom out, slowly bend the knees, keep the back straight until you feel the chair. And you want to land as light as a feather. So the idea here is for the chair not to squeak. You don't want to hear yourself plop down into the chair, and you definitely don't want to feel like you've just dropped down. You want to feel like the movement was controlled throughout. So I'll show you again. Hands out the way, come forward and up, and at the top into reverse. So slowly back down. Probably the count of 4 works best for most people until you've got your bum on the seat. Now, if you feel a little bit unsteady going back down, what you can do is you can come up and then make sure that your legs are just touching the back of the chair, just so you can feel it, just in case you're one of the many people who feels a little bit unsafe going back down. That's a nice way to make this exercise easier. But if that was too easy for you, you can do more than 5 or 10 in a row and you don't feel anything in your thighs, we can make this a little bit harder. And to make it harder, we just need something with a bit of weight. So I'm going to use this dumbbell here. This dumbbell weighs about 5 kilograms, but the weight isn't that important. We just want a weight that makes the movement feel a slight bit harder. So what we're going to do once we've got the dumbbell is you're going to hold it like this, close in to your chest. So you want it touching your chest. So you've got 3 points of contact with the dumbbell. You've got your 2 hands and your body. And then the movement is exactly the same. So we come right to the edge of the chair. We come forward and up, keeping the dumbbell there. And then the movement goes into reverse. So we stick the bottom out and slowly lower ourselves back down. Now that movement on the way down is the hardest part because that's when the muscle is lengthening. We call it an eccentric contraction, and that's an eccentric contraction of the quads and the glutes at the back of the hip, 2 very important muscle groups for preventing falls. I recommend that most people do this exercise about 5 times in a row, a couple of times a day, and you'll feel a big difference in a space of just 6 weeks. The second exercise we're going to do to strengthen your legs and prevent falls is called hip flexion. And I love this exercise because it does something very important. When we walk, we have to flex our hip, which is this movement, in order to swing the leg forwards. But one of the things that causes the biggest number of falls is catching your leg on the floor because your hip wasn't strong enough to lift the leg. So if you're one of the people who catches their foot on the floor, you're going to be at a higher risk of falls. But the good news is we can usually stop that from happening. So hip flexion is this movement. So we're basically going to be doing this kind of movement, but to make it challenging, we're going to use one of these. And this is a very light resistance band. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to slip it around, both of my feet. And we want it around the middle of both feet. So I'll show you a close-up in a moment, but basically you've got your band around the middle of the feet so that when you step just on one leg, the band isn't going to go anywhere. Now I recommend you do this next to a kitchen worktop or a wall, just so you've got something to put your hands on. You're going to keep a good posture, then we're going to go up onto one leg and lift the other leg up in the air like this. So we're going to go up and back down, and up and back down. Now we don't want to crunch like this. We want to keep the back straight, so it's just the hip doing the work. You can see my weight transfers over onto one leg, and then I lift up like this. Now already I can start to feel some strengthening or some fatigue happening in here, and that means that the muscle is being challenged, which means eventually it's going to get stronger. Now if you want to flip that over to the other side, you can still keep the same hand on the wall. You're just going to come up like this and back down, and up and back down, and up and back down. You can see I'm doing this reasonably quickly. If you wanted to make this harder for yourself, what you could do is come up nice and fast and then down as slow as possible. But I quite like to use a bit of pace with this because it kind of replicates how quickly our muscles contract when we walk and when we move. And doing this exercise for a total of about 10 times on each side, a couple of sets a day, will really help to prevent falls. Make sure you take the band off before you start walking again. Now the third exercise we're going to do to prevent falls is called the floor star with the band. And I'm going to show you this exercise in just a moment, but before I show you the exercise, I just want to tell you that 88% of people who watch these videos have not yet subscribed to the channel. So if that's you, just scroll down, hit the subscribe button, it's absolutely free, and then you'll be the first to hear about our videos as soon as they come out. Now I'm going to show you the floor star with the band, and I like this exercise because it brings me back to my days of working in professional football. And we used to use this exercise to warm the players up, to prime their muscles before they would play the match. So this exercise is great for all of the muscles around the hips, and it basically just helps you to get better hip mobility and better muscle activation before you move. So we're going to use the same band that we used before, and this time we're going to take it up around the ankles on both sides. So it's just above the ankles. You want a bit of space around you. You don't necessarily need anything to hold on to as long as it's safe for you to stand free. And what we're going to do is we're just going to take our foot forward and tap, then out to the side and tap, and then behind and tap. Simple as that. And then we swap sides. So forward, side, and back. And then forward and side and back. You can see that all my hip muscles are having to work to first flex my hip, then abduct my hip, and then extend my hip. So I'll show you again. Start with the right leg, forward, side, and back. And I'm not weight bearing through this leg. I'm just tapping the toe. That's quite important because otherwise you're going to really slow the movement down, and we want this to be quite dynamic, okay? So it's a 3-step movement on each side, forward, side, and back. And I recommend doing 10 of these on each side, with that being 1 repetition. That's a really good way to wake up your hip muscles. Do it before you go out for a walk. That's my top tip. Your hips will feel more activated. You'll probably have less pain as well as a lower risk of falls. And then the final exercise I've got for you to help you prevent falls is called the tib raise. And this is a fantastic exercise for people who catch their foot on the floor when they walk. And one of the reasons people catch their feet on the floor as they're walking is not necessarily the hip, but the ankle. So if your ankle muscles aren't strong enough to lift your toes when you walk, as your leg is traveling through, you're going to catch your toe, and that's going to make falls more likely. Now again, the good news is we can improve this. We just need to strengthen up the muscles that live at the front of the shin. So we call this the tibialis anterior, and we call this exercise the tib raise. So all you need for this exercise is a wall. You're just going to lean against the wall like this, and you want your heels to be about a foot away from the wall. I would have a very slight bend in the knees as well. So your head's on the wall, your shoulders are on the wall, and your bottom's on the wall if you can get your head there. Now the exercise is super simple. All we're going to do is pick our toes up and lift them as high as we can off the floor, then hold for a second before slowly lowering them back down. Now this looks really, really easy, but the truth is, after a few repetitions, most people can feel the muscle at the front of their shin. Now if you can't feel it, one thing you can do is go a little bit further away from the wall, which means you've got a bigger range of motion. And then again, we're going to lift, hold, and slowly lower. Once again, lift, hold, and slowly lower like this. Now I can already feel that nice, warm, burning feeling at the front of the shins, which means that the muscle's being activated, which means if I kept doing this, it would eventually get stronger. Now the tibialis anterior is quite an endurance muscle, so usually the best strategy for muscles like that is to do more repetitions on a lower resistance. So maybe work to 15, 20 repetitions in a row. That would work really, really well. If that's very easy for you, the next step is you can bring your bottom off the wall. So we've just got the shoulders there, and then we're lifting up like this, which means we've got slightly more of our body weight pressing down into the foot. And we've just changed the angle of the ankle, which means that now the movement is of greater range of motion. So to make it harder, this is the position you go in. And again, same principle applies. Do this exercise before you walk, and you'll find that you're picking your toes up more off the floor, but doing it regularly throughout the day is going to be a great way to stop you from catching your toes on the floor as you walk. So those are 4 of my best strengthening exercises to prevent falls. I hope that video has been useful. If it has, please do drop a comment below and let me know how you got on. And if you want to get more from me, you can pick up a copy of my book. It's called Thriving Beyond 50, and you can find it on Amazon using the link below. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your time, and I'll speak to you on the next video.